distinguished guests, please welcome President and Chief Executive Officer of the Detroit Regional Chamber, Sandy Barua.
All right, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. We're delighted. Thank you for joining us for the kickoff session. We're excited to have my boss, Suzanne Shank, ready, waiting in the wings, along with our governor, to kick off this year's Mackinac Policy Conference. You know, the Detroit Regional Chamber, we are so proud to be the stewards, and we really do view ourselves as stewards of this unique statewide asset. But you know, it's not our day job. You know, we do this out of love. I mean, our day job is frankly being the largest business organization in the state of Michigan, the third largest chamber in the country, and all the staff you see making sure that all the trains up here run on time do something completely different, you know, down south when they're in the office. You know, business development, economic development, accounting, HR. And all of us at the Detroit Regional Chamber welcome you here to the 24 Mackinac Policy Conference. And we would not be here without our terrific sponsors. Leading the way, as always, is our dear friend Dan Lepp and the great team at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, such steadfast supporters. And we want to congratulate Tricia Keith on the brand new announcement that she will be Blue Cross's next CEO. My sincere thanks to our Ruby-level sponsors, Clark Hill, Huntington, and the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. And we have over a dozen platinum sponsors this year. So please, a round of applause for our platinum sponsors and all of the sponsors that make this possible. Now, we take your security and safety up here very seriously. And as we all know, we're living in an environment where events like this are becoming a larger and larger attraction for disruption and protests. So we have multiple layers of security, 6 layers of security actually, but you've seen some visible changes this year. First, most importantly, wristbands. I know these are kind of a pain in the you-know-what. I had to blow dry mine this morning, but please, 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 you know, wear those with your credentials. Hugely important so we can enforce that the right people are here and your experience is not disrupted. Also, as you notice, we now require photo ID to get both your credential and if you need a replacement credential or wristband. So thank you for your cooperation as we're working very hard to ensure we keep our senior level folks that are on this stage, all of you leaders out there, safe. The theme of this year's conference is Bridging the Future Together. Now this is important because it's a challenge. It's a challenge because, to paraphrase our pollster, Richard Schuba of the Glenn Gariff Group, we live in an era of misinformation. Now, while political polarization and tribalism have grown since the 1990s, with a brief reprieve after 9/11, our statewide polling shows a deep divide in issues that are not just political, but a deep divide on fundamental issues impacting Michigan's trajectory forward. Specifically, during my time on stage with you today and tomorrow, I want to focus on 3 issues that should not be political issues, but in today's environment they are. And they are the value of democracy, the value of higher education, and the global transformation taking place in the automotive industry to electrification. So on the importance of democracy, our statewide polling, which dropped yesterday, and I'm sure you read about it in the newspapers, only 67% of Michiganders agree that democracy is the best form of government. That is a head-slapping moment. 17% said that democracy, it didn't matter if we were a democracy or not. And 5% of Michiganders said that violence is acceptable if their candidate loses the election, even if credible, nonpartisan, and bipartisan entities say that the election was decided fairly. If you extrapolate that 5% in Michigan across the country, that means 17 million Americans are willing to engage in violence. If we're going to bridge the future together, we need to bridge this information gap around the importance of democracy in the home democracy, America. Of the many things that makes the United States special, it is our standards, and it's what makes us a global powerhouse. It is the world's faith in our standards. It's the world's faith in our stability. It is the world's faith in our belief in free markets and capitalism and democracy is what gives America her strength. If we lose faith in those elements, the world will too. After the 2020 election, the Chamber was perhaps the first and only business group to say very loudly that the 2020 elections were fair and among the most secure we've ever had, without taking a position on Biden versus Trump. After January 6th, we took a major leadership role in the support for American institutions, American democracy, and calling out the outrage that was January 6th. And subsequent to that, we have been leaders in supporting access to the ballot box and extending the right to vote to all those who are legally eligible. These are important. And you ask, why does a business organization care about these issues? And it's because in this changing environment, business leaders now have a role to play in combating misinformation. For those of us who went to business school way back in the 80s when we were inventing the wheel, there were no courses taught about how business leaders engage in the public sphere. But we need to do that today. Look no further than the Edelman Trust Barometer, which has now for several years ranked businesses and employers as the most trusted source of information. These are the reasons why I'm going to be proud to join our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, at 3:10 on the porch today to announce a business partnership led by the Detroit Regional Chamber and her office, the Secretary of State's office, to encourage businesses to use their powerful voice to help dispel information and encourage people to be engaged and informed voters. Business leaders have a more important role than ever in combating misinformation in our society. And the fact that you all are here tells me that you already know that. Thanks so much for being here. Enjoy the conference. We're honored you've taken your valuable time to spend with us.
Please welcome President and Chief Executive Officer of Sieber Williams Shank & Company, LLC, and Chair of the 2024 Mackinac Policy Conference, Suzanne Shank.
So good to see everyone. Thank you all for being here. Welcome to the 2024 Mackinac Policy Conference. I recently read a book entitled, "Whatever It Is, I'm Against It." Sound familiar? While the book focused on the state of higher education, the title really resonated with me, given the current state of affairs and discord in our country today. This great annual conference, the Mackinac Policy Conference, brings together leaders of business, policy, the nonprofit world, other critical stakeholders, and presents an excellent opportunity for us to collectively pause and tackle our greatest challenges with a focus on partnership and collaboration. Now, many of you may not know, before my career on Wall Street, I was a civil engineer. And I have a deep admiration for bridges. The beautiful Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, the iconic Brooklyn Bridge in New York City, and the majestic Tower Bridge in London. Right here in Michigan, we have the Blue Water and Ambassador Bridges, both international throughways, and we all saw traveling up here the beautiful Mackinac Bridge, picturesque. Right here in Michigan, we actually have over 11,000 bridges that serve critical purposes. But while I love bridges for their stature and beauty, More important is their practical role of connecting people and communities, connecting goods and services with the businesses that thrive. That's why we picked the theme for this year's conference to be Bridging the Future Together. Now, I recently read a Pew Research Center report highlighting the deep distrust infusing Americans today. Within the report, they had a study of voters during the 2020 presidential election. It found only 2% of Biden voters and an equally small number of Trump voters believed those who voted for the opposing party actually understood them. But the survey went further and asked voters to describe what they would want the opposing side to know about them to actually understand them. And the answers, although from Democrats and Republicans, were more or less the same. Let's see if you can figure out which political ideology belongs to whom. One voter said, "We all want the same things, to take care of our families, be financially secure as possible, and live in communities that thrive and serve our needs. I may not support your choice of candidates, but I will fight for your right to support them." Another voter said, "I believe we can disagree about many things without labeling each other as immoral, bad, or racist. I am teachable. Are you?" And finally, yet another said, "We are Americans, not enemies. I believe both parties need to set aside their anger and work together." Can you tell? I couldn't. This clarified a notion I've held for a long time, one that has only grown stronger as our nation has become more divided, that despite all our differences, we ultimately all want the same things. I'm hoping we all realize that we cannot propel our communities, state, or nation forward unless we figure out a better way to collaborate, partner, and compromise. But we all know this is easier said than done. Now, I'm from the South, and my mother often stated an old Southern parable: "You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You should listen more than you speak." So here's my big challenge of you this week. I ask that you meet someone you do not know, someone who is different from you in some way, someone from a different industry, political party, gender, even generation, and try to come up with something on which you can collaborate. Better yet, exchange business cards and get together post-conference to continue the discussion. Because I believe there are more basic tenets upon which we can agree than disagree. We all want safe, clean communities. We all want dependable infrastructure. We all want high-quality schools for our children. We want a better tomorrow than today. If we can agree that we want these same things, we can finally crack the code on problems that can and should be solved. Let's put function over dysfunction and people over politics. I am sick and tired of the unrelenting fights and hyperbole we face every day. It's exhausting. But this week, we have a dynamic group of speakers converging on the island. They are Democrats and Republicans. They are men and women, a record number of women this year, in fact. They are, thank you. They are CEOs, college presidents, commerce secretaries, thought leaders. We, all of us, we are the stewards of civility. We set the standard for how key stakeholders and everyday citizens diminish partisan undercurrents. Because while each of us may hold different beliefs, we are all striving for the same thing. We want Michigan to succeed. This state is really the epicenter of American commerce in countless ways. It's imperative that we team up to find real transformative solutions to bring jobs, businesses, and population within our borders. Getting there won't be through bickering or vilifying. It will necessitate listening, connecting, expanding. It will require building bridges. I hope we all walk away this week not only inspired, but energized to really tackle the problems confronting our state and region. Together, with common effort and common purpose, we can and will achieve significant growth to propel our economy forward. Together, we will bridge the future of a prosperous Michigan. And for more on that, it's my privilege to welcome to the stage our great governor of our great state, Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Well, thank you, everybody. I'm so glad to be back. And is it just me, or does it seem like I've never noticed everything is Honolulu blue, right? So at this year's conference, I am excited. I always look forward to this. There are always some great conversations that happen up here. And we're going to tackle big questions, like who has the best fudge? How late is too late at the Pink Pony? And what was it that I just stepped in? Anyways, I want to recognize the Detroit Regional Chamber for their hard work this year to bring us together. Sandy Barua and his whole staff do a fantastic job. And of course, Suzanne Shank is doing a great job being the chair this year, right? And these conferences are not possible without a whole lot of nameless people who do the grunt work long before we get here and long after we go. All the staff here at the Grand and all the staff across the island. We should give them our thanks as well. So it's been a heck of a year. Since I was last here, we've gotten a lot done. Michigan manufacturing is surging. We've seen billion-dollar projects and thousands of new jobs building cars and chips and batteries, clean energy. In 2024 alone, that included Corning in Saginaw County, creating 1,100 jobs, Piston Automotive in Auburn Hills, creating 900 manufacturing jobs, the Copperwood Mine, creating 370 jobs, driving $425 million of investment in the Upper Peninsula, and there are many more, but that's just a few examples. And this year, we brought our total number of auto jobs secured in the last 5 years to 38,000. So according to the U.S. Department of Labor, our workforce system is #1 in credential attainment for adults and #2 for helping adults get employed. We are #6 in the nation for registered apprenticeships, 22,000 in the last 4 years. We've expanded the Michigan Reconnect and the Michigan Achievement Scholarship to knock off thousands of dollars off the cost of college or skills training. We passed game-changing clean energy package, committing Michigan to 100% clean energy by 2040. It's going to lower costs and make us a national leader on climate. And we have the top economy for clean energy jobs. We're supporting students. 1.4 million Michigan kids now get free breakfast and lunch at school. And it saves their parents about $850 per kid and a whole lot of time in the morning. So the eyes of the world are also on Michigan right now because we will soon become the first state in the history of our nation to restart a shuttered nuclear power plant at Palisades. And we continue making progress on so many other kitchen table issues: housing, childcare, infrastructure, reproductive health, and more. So as I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I'm very optimistic about Michigan and about our future. Detroit is still basking in the glow of a record-setting NFL draft. Coach Campbell, GM Brad Holmes, Sheila Hamp, and the Lions are on the prowl for another playoff run. And Super Bowl, I'm calling it. And the Detroit Grand Prix is this weekend, and Team Penske just won back-to-back Indy 500s, which has not happened in 22 years. So congratulations to Roger Penske and driver Joseph Newgarden. Hudson's Tower is reaching for the sky. Population is growing for the first time in 67 years, and Michigan Central Station is reopening next week, a living symbol of resurgence. So we're scrappy, we're open for business, and we're still embracing the power of and. Families and businesses, communities and industry. We're making progress with our new economic development tools to grow our economy, bring supply chains home, and create good-paying manufacturing jobs. There's always more good work to do. I talked to the 9-person graduating class of Mackinac Island Public School this past Friday. This year's conference is really an opportunity to recommit ourselves to building a Michigan that all 9 of them can be proud to call home, and all the graduates, of course, across the state. It's also about networking, eating great food, enjoying a cool breeze coming off the lakes, and enjoying the spectacular weather. We have been so lucky every year lately. But I encourage you to open your mind to creative new solutions to the pressing problems we're all grappling with. Ask yourselves how you can help move Michigan forward. In my keynote on Thursday, I will focus on how we can build on our progress and unleash Michigan's entrepreneurial spirit. We'll help innovators feel more represented in state government and connect them to the resources that they need to do what they do best, solve problems and build the future. So you'll hear more in my keynote. We just made some exciting announcements on housing and energy, and you'll also get the opportunity to hear from one of my good friends, Secretary Gina Raimondo, on how the federal government is helping to deliver. Secretary Raimondo, by the way, just so you know, is a Michigander by marriage. So between her and Secretary Buttigieg, we're slowly marrying our way into the entire cabinet. I hope you all have a wonderful time. Pace yourselves, stay hydrated, and I look forward to seeing you, talking with you, and engaging with you out there and for the months and years to come. Thank you so much.